Good afternoon, everybody. It is 12:59 in the afternoon on this first day of November. Oi, that came really fast, didn't it? November. Holy cow. Well, did do one yesterday. We didn't have a lot going on, but tell you what, there's some really interesting, this price action recently in Bitcoin and Ethereum's pretty telling. So we've seen these BART movements before. It's very possible that this is another setup to take a short again, but really it looks a lot like, get the right thing up there. It looks very much like we're condensing in the pattern, excuse me, so to speak. What I mean by that is, and this is actually from the most recent action here. I lost it. I thought I had this written down, but I didn't. Well, that's all right. We're getting this flagging pattern pennant off of the current price action. And I think this is going to be a pretty interesting move as we move on. There's a good chance that we do trade higher, that we do see prices accelerate here. I'm cautiously optimistic about it. But to be perfectly honest, I think we see a major expansion starting between today and the 5th of November. Remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plot. I see no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. V for Vendetta. It's a good movie. So, oh yeah, this price action here is pretty interesting. So we had this drop down, and then within like 2 days worth of this drop down here. Then we had 2 days worth of consolidation, and what's odd is that we had such a responsive buyback. Look at these wicks here; they're near identical. And we had such a responsive move just less than 2 days after that little bit of a throw up in price, and we've recovered it and held that zone, and we look to be making some attempts to want to retrace this move. Now, this is not any different than what we're kind of seeing in currency markets right now, where we're seeing the dollar face a lot of weakness, and we see the pound catching a big bid, the Aussie dollar, the New Zealand dollar are driving higher, the dollar Swiss is falling a little bit, the dollar yen is falling a little bit. So we're seeing, and the euro also has been trading a little higher. So we've been seeing a real strong turnaround in a lot of markets today, and that kind of activity can fuel into the crypto markets very, very easily. It'd be very easy to see excuse me, this breakout. The volume also has been higher, if you've noticed. If we look back at this activity here for about 2 weeks after the October 15th move higher, there was just a drop in volume. But actually ever since then, or actually ever since this drop, we've seen a pretty nice pickup in the volume, a pickup in the participation. I've been seeing some very bullish buy walls on the order books on the different exchanges. It's got a different kind of tone to it, and I'm kind of getting a little bit of an itch here, because this has all the markings of a new drive higher. Also, where are we at? I feel kind of bad because I think yesterday was Bitcoin's birthday. Well, there's actually a couple. Yeah, yesterday was Bitcoin's birthday. There's a couple ways to look at Bitcoin's quote-unquote birthday. Do you go by the date that it was first traded on an exchange, or do you go by the initial white paper, or do you go by the day that bitcoin.org was established? Because if I can find my little website here. All right. Bitcoin. Okay, so yeah, bitcoin.org was registered prior to the white paper release. Bitcoin.org was registered on August 1st, somewhere between August 1st to the August 6th, or August 18th, yeah. August 18th, 2008. That's when bitcoin.org was registered. So the website was registered prior to the white paper release. As far as the first day it was listed on an exchange, I should know that. Actually do know that, but I can't recall it for some reason. But that's all right. Okay. This pennant, pretty awesome. Most of the pennants that we've seen lately have been breakdowns, but I mean, we've been trading the structural low for ever and a day. Even looking at Bitcoin right now, Bitcoin has a more prominent look at a breakout in front of us than Ethereum does right now, but Ethereum will obviously follow suit. This is Coinbase's pair. See this drive here that's showing up. Pretty interesting to see. We haven't seen this kind of actual legit bullish structure in quite some time. The reason I wasn't here yesterday because I wanted to make sure that I was not. I spent a lot of time going over the 1 minute charts. I was doing a lot of market replay just to make sure that I was looking at what felt like, you trade a market enough. There's a lot of people who trade in the options pits, and people who traded in the pit, the CME pits back in the day. They'll tell you that they could just kind of feel how an instrument moved, and they would have a kind of innate feeling for it. I get that as well when I trade. I have a feeling for how particular currencies move, and I have a feeling for how Bitcoin moves. And this move here is very different than what we've had over the last 3-4 months. And it's not surprising that it happens near the change of a month, because monthly changes are pretty common for Bitcoin to experience major, large and small trend changes during a new month. Give me 1 second here. Yeah, this is an interesting move here in Bitcoin. This has not happened in a while. We have not seen this kind of activity. We could say it's in there, but really it broke out already. There's a difference too with if we put some charts side by side here. Oops, didn't want to do that. Like if we did Ethereum's chart, I'll just get a new. This is different. All right, so let me get Ethereum. That's the Tether pair, and then this is the Coinbase pair. So we've got a dollar pair, and we've got a Tether pair. There is a difference, not huge, but there is a difference in how these instruments are moving on the exchanges and on the price chart. I guess that, you know, one will, that's like saying the same thing. The Tether stuff is interesting because Tether has taken out, I think, $500 or $600 million worth of Tether has been taken out of this market. And I have to go through this again, but the entire Tether debacle, it's only a matter of time, and I bet we hear about it this month, near the end of the month, that Binance and Bittrex and some others, they are going to be dropping their support for Tether, and they're transitioning into these altcoins. I know I've mentioned this before, but the new stable coins like the Circle coin, the Gemini coin, and True US Dollar, and PAX, there's a lot of stable coins out there now that you can use to replace fiat if you need to, that you actually have ownership of the dollars in the quantity of that stablecoin you have. Whereas Tether, there is no, you don't have a right to the dollar with Tether. Okay, it's just a placeholder. And so if Tether were to all of a sudden go defunct and lose all of its value, and you were holding it, you're shit out of luck. Whereas things like True USD and Circle, they have very transparent auditing. They have very transparent burning process when they issue currency, when they put more cash in the reserves, and they pump out more of the coins. They make sure that there's a 1-for-1 parity in there. So a lot of the other stable coins are highly desirable compared to Tether, but if they were to just, if one of the top 10 exchanges were to just drop Tether, I shouldn't even say the top 10, but any of the top 3 exchanges were to drop Tether, there would be pandemonium. And I hope that they are communicating with each other, the exchanges, because they have to know that what a disruption it would cause. It would not benefit an exchange to do this unilaterally, because it would hurt their bottom line as much as it would hurt their competitors. But no, their thoughts on stable coins taking away the demand for Bitcoin. No, I mean, I'm not really concerned about that. I think what we would see happen is a very funky, a very odd move in a lot of the exchanges that are based on Tether. We could see I've tried to play this in my head, and I've tried to kind of draw it out and write it out, but Binance does not offer real fiat for the dollar, so it's based off of the Tether. But there's a lot of stablecoins now in Binance that you can swap the Tether for, or Bitcoin into Tether. And so the majority of the trading pairs are either rated against Tether or Bitcoin, and Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's going to be messy, but all in all, I think it's going to be awesome for the whole market. We saw what happened already, and this may very well have been just kind of a test of sorts, whether on purpose or not, when we saw what happened on the 15th. Because what did people have to do? There's a lot of exchanges out there that tons of people use that don't have access to depositing their euros, their pounds, their kroner, their US dollars. So they're stuck using whatever the broad medium of exchange is, and that's generally Tether. Binance at least has Binance Coin, which is kind of it's kind of like a pseudo stable coin in a way, but ultimately yeah, this is gonna be really bonkers. But Tether, people who have it, who can't exchange it into anything else, they will have to end up buying other cryptos with it because they won't want to hang on to it. They'll end up having to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, XLM, whatever else you can buy like on Binance. You know, they're going to be stuck having to do that because they have no other out. They have no other option. That is it. So that's going to be a fairly interesting thing that happens here. Regardless of that, though, this price action that we're observing is pretty interesting. I find it to be pretty bullish, and the Bitcoin usually have most of the market cap during a bear market. Oh, definitely, yeah, because most of the speculative market in cryptocurrencies. It's weird to say that there's a stable market in cryptocurrencies, but Bitcoin is by far the most stable cryptocurrency because it is the barometer of the health of the market, and it is also the major crypto used to buy other cryptos. And so the evidence of a very nice, one piece of evidence for a very nice expansive bull market is when we observe Bitcoin rising in value, but we see the majority of the alt market also rising in value. What that's telling us is that there's a outflow of Bitcoin into the altcoin market, but there's enough positive flow of fiat traveling into Bitcoin to keep it elevated as well. So we have this, it's like the wave in a stadium. You know, it just kind of picks itself up and goes over. Then what you kind of a signal that says maybe you want to transition into fiat, or that you want to maybe just, sit in Bitcoin, is when you start to see the massive gains in your altcoin market start to drop, and you see Bitcoin and Ethereum catch a massive bid. So let's say you see the altcoin market and 25 altcoins are up 25 to 40% and Bitcoin's up 3%. If all of a sudden you start to see altcoins dropping to only being up 10 or 11%, but now you see Bitcoin and Ethereum up 10%, that's a good signal to probably transition into some altcoins, because that means people are leaving the market, and they have to leave the market through Bitcoin. Okay, so to participate in the speculative market of cryptocurrencies, in the altcoin market, you have to buy Bitcoin. And that's not entirely true, but I'm just saying for the most part, you have to buy some Bitcoin in order to participate in the in altcoin market. And when the altcoin market starts to drive down lower, slow down, but you're seeing Bitcoin rise in value, that's not a bad time to, if you trade futures or Forex or stocks, they call it sit in cash and sit in a stable coin. And that is the best and safest thing to do, and I'm so happy that there's stable coins this round, because half of the reason that there was so much congestion on the Bitcoin network back in the last quarter of 2017 was not just people wanting to get into the market, it was people trying to get out of the market. People had to go on Coinbase, you had to buy your Bitcoin, you had to wait for it to show up, transfer it to another exchange. Oh my God, it dropped $5,000. I need to send it back to Coinbase, and then I need to sell it. It was a nightmare. It's not a surprise that there was so much congestion and craziness going on. So thank God now we have a lot of these exchanges with stable coins that give you the right and the ownership of whatever coin it is you're using. So TrueUSD was the first one that came out where you actually had ownership of the dollar, and that's a good one. Okay, you are entitled to that dollar. Now, let's look at the rest of the cryptos right now. So we've got this nice bullish pennant formed on Bitcoin. We have a very nice bullish pennant formed on Ethereum. We have Litecoin, which is just, Litecoin is way, way, way overdone. Uh, oh, well, you're welcome. The Litecoin pair is stupidly overdone as far as the selling's concerned, and I still maintain that at least here in the States, Litecoin is going to be the first mass adoption currency by the general public. That this will be the first major transaction coin that people use. I still maintain that, even though you don't hear news about it and all that jazz. I still think that Litecoin is that pair. Yeah, I don't think you should ignore it. Cardano not doing a lot, but excuse me, gosh, this trend line has been here like pretty much for the last half the month, and we've had this on our screen for quite some time. But whenever Cardano does shove up here, it'll be a pretty massive amount. Anything below this line here in Cardano, I buy on those dips. I mean, I already bought on some dips a while ago, but anything below this line is a screaming buy. That is 0.079 this is the dollar one. Basic attention token, doing pretty nicely. Has not been announced that Coinbase has not announced it yet, but they were just valued at $8 billion. Coinbase was, and they reiterated, was it Wednesday or Tuesday, that they are going to list hundreds of coins. I hope they do it in batches, because if they're going to do it one at a time with the amount of time they spend in between, it's going to oh, Muhammad. Yeah, well, do what you got to do. I'm at my job too. I work from home. I trade for a living. I do education and stuff. And working from home is awesome, but you can get cabin fever, and friends and family think that just because you're at home means that you're available to do things or to help out with things, even though you're not. Like, I'm at work. All right? I walk down the hallway to my office. That's a long ways. I'm at work. Don't bother me. Okay. Basic attention token, doing pretty nicely. It'll probably shave some off before we see any higher moves, but it's in a pretty standard looking bear flag pattern. Parallel channels, where you at? Sitting right there. That looks okay. EOS is really beaten up. EOS is an example of there are a lot of hype, like, oh, decentralized applications, that's what EOS is great for. Yeah, but nobody's using them. Nobody cares. Nano missed the drive on this one, but it's been Nano's actually been a pretty good range trade. It's been, these are those musical harmonics, the harmonic ratios of musical notes transposed into price, the do re mi fa sol la ti do. That's what we have going on here in Nano with these strength and resistance lines. It's a pretty nice level here that we're watching, and it plays out really great. Oh, not that. XLM, another one of the Coinbase 5. Well, by tonight, we should see a responsive drive higher as it gets to this arc. I would not expect to see it just, well, it could. Prices get up to this arc. When prices get to the arcs, prices do not like to stay around them. They like to move away from them as fast as possible. That is the general behavior of Gann arcs, but we should observe a good push away from this level. Ripple. First off, I think Ripple is shit and that it is pointless. And the whole thing where Ripple is working with a bunch of banks, that's great, but Stellar Lumens does essentially the same thing that Ripple does, except Stellar Lumens, they decided that they would focus on the international like they have eliminated Ripple is essentially trying to be the middleman of a middleman. Crypto, if you just wrap your head around this for a second. Like, I have a client in Britain who pays me in cryptocurrencies. If we used to have, I used to have a direct wire transfer. That's how he paid me. So he would send money to Wells Fargo, and then it would show up in my bank account. Wells Fargo was the middleman, and there was a fee that he'd get charged for that wire, and then I would get charged from it from Wells Fargo because they're evil. Now we do cryptocurrency, so he just sends me Ethereum or Bitcoin to my Coinbase account, just like that, and no more middleman. I guess theoretically there is because I'm depositing in their bank, but there's nobody involved in the transaction between his cryptocurrency to me. Ripple, for some reason, like, got the whole idea of what cryptocurrencies are meant to be used for and really, like, lost it. Like, banks settling payments over their ecosystem is, why would you even worry about that? Because Stellar Lumens is partnered with IBM, and they're creating a non-bank transfer system. Actually, it's already working. And so Stellar Lumens is like working with international payments between companies. So if there's a supplier in Mexico who is selling base mats to someplace here in the States, instead of having to go through the banks and the international transfers and the conversions and all this jazz for large sums of money, you can just do it on the Stellar Lumens network. Just like that. Boom. It's fast. It's stupid fast. But like Ripple actually made like another step involved. It's just ridiculous. But and additionally, whether or not Ripple is good or bad, it's a great pair to trade. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. It catches a lot of attention, and it's fun to trade because it's like a penny stock. People love it. They love to pump it for no other reason than I don't know. There's a lot of positive sentiment attached to this for some reason. But if you think banks are going to develop their own version, they're not just going to say, oh, well, Ripple's the industry standard. No. Zcash, the only private coin that may ever be listed legally in the United States. Zcash, it's not doing too hot. It's traded off quite a bit. ZRX, though, caught a bit of a bid, and we'll see if it can go any higher. It's holding and sustaining pretty well. Pretty happy with it. All right, let's check out some trade ideas. Let's get some of those put out there. There are a lot of opportunities coming up if we get an expansive move between Ethereum and or Bitcoin. Bitcoin, do not be a punk. Of course, it wants to sell a bit there. Oh, wait, that's Bitstamps data. That still looks okay. Let's Ichimoku this up. So why don't we just start off with Bitcoin? So what's really nice is Bitcoin's drifted off here, and this is where I see the breakout happening pretty soon. Is the lagging span is just below the top of the cloud here, and price has already traveled above the cloud, not like it moved up there, just kind of drifted above the cloud. So all we are waiting for is the lagging span to drive above the cloud here, and on the hourly and above price. So like on the current hour, we would need to see it trade at 63.39, but certainly when we look at the next hour, we fast forward, then it's just a couple ticks, and then we'll see the lagging span and price above the cloud, which is that major trigger that is necessary for a long trade in the Ichimoku system. Comparing it to what we've got going on in the 4-hour, really not a lot to talk about here. What is nice to see is that the price has been able to get back above the baseline and hold here, and it has been testing it and oscillating around it for, this is on the 4-hour chart, ever since yesterday, and it hasn't had any strong sell-off pressure. And then on the daily, I mean, this pretty flat baseline is really indicative of a strong resistance zone. But regardless, the Bitcoin opportunity on that breakout, for a breakout, is very close by, really at 63.25, which seems weird, but I'm just putting that signal out right now. Ethereum, same story. Okay, so on these charts, folks, if you've never seen them, the top left is the daily Ichimoku chart, and the top right is the 4-hour Ichimoku chart, and the bottom is the 1-hour Ichimoku chart. Does everybody here? We've got a few more people in here now. Does anybody not know what the Ichimoku system is? Because it's okay if you don't. It's an old system, but it's really still relatively new to the Western markets. You know, it really didn't get that big until the early 2000s, like 2001 to 2006, and it's still not known by a lot of people. I mean, if you don't know, it's that's perfectly fine, and I won't spend, you know, I will spend some time going over it and just kind of a crash course on how to use it and how to read it if you want me to. You won't be wasting anybody else's time. Hi, brother Tim. I thought I was feeling sick the other day, but I got my flu shot, so weeks ago. Okay, well, looking at Ethereum, the breakout here is a pretty easy one to spot. We would be looking at, I'd actually like to see it get above this high here on the lagging span. So at, oh my God, you might as well say 200, but 198. That would be the ideal zone. Hold on one sec here. What the hell just happened in? Oh, the pound drove higher. That's what it was. There was a spike in, sorry, I'm just checking my Forex positions here, seeing what's going on. There was a big spike in something, and I want to make sure I didn't hit my profit target. Okay. Yeah, everyone got sore throat as the devil, like XRP. Just converted a regular hate group for Ripple. So the Ethereum, ETH, USD long at 198. Litecoin, I mean, Litecoin's just really, Litecoin has a legit breakout here soon if we can get to like $50.40. And then let's check out the Coinbase 5. So Cardano on the Bitcoin pair, you know, it's, most of the charts are going to look like this. They're going to have a very shared structure, a very shared you know, way that they're developing. That's not anything new. What's they're doing? Okay. Cardano's breakout, thankfully, is pretty, I mean, we'd be sitting at 111.13, which is, yeah, that put us back above the baseline on the 4-hour Ichimoku as well. So 11.14. 88 BTC. Basic attention token. Well, it already has it already had a breakout on the hourly. That's more than likely why you saw that big wick. Well, the 4-hour looks. You know, I wouldn't put in a trade unless it was on the 4-hour, where the lagging span is trading up and price would be. So that'd be at 41.46. It would have a pretty nice run from there. It would be nice if it all went up during the channel. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Okay, and we said 41.46 for basic attention token. Sure, double check. Yeah, 41.46. BAT, BTC, long at 41.46 based on the 1-hour Ichimoku chart. Breakout of cloud. I got to do all the production audio lighting for the World CryptoCon. Whoa, what? Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, like there's just a seasonal cyclical, thing that Bitcoin goes through. And for those who are, if there's anybody new here, just say hello, and then I'll go over that seasonal run that we are more than likely going to get into within a few days. I think somewhere between November 1st and the 5th. Wait, you guys, damn it. You guys are at the cool place. World CryptoCon. Okay, then EOS. I don't like EOS very much. IOTA, though. IOTA's got a nice breakout here in the hourly. If it can break the prior highs on the hourly, that's okay. IOTA is really overdone compared to a lot of others where it's just sitting in a good spot because it's a laggard. It's definitely a big laggard, and we should see IOTA catch a pretty nice bid compared to its peers. And it's in one of the it is among the top market cap coins. It's in the top 20, and when it's lagging all of the other 20, this is just telling you that it's probably a good chart to take a. I mean, from a speculative standpoint, this is just a kind of a no-brainer at the present value that it's at. But if we really wanted to, this is the U.S. dollar pair, so I should get the Bitcoin pair up. Yeah, same thing, but I wait for a break of the prior highs here at 74.56. One hour Ichimoku break above prior highs. All right. Nano. God, I love Nano. It's a fun one. Ooh, Nano's going to have a nice... let's see here. 4-hour looks ugly. God, these these wicks. But the hourly... this is the short term here on the hourly, we've got a flagging pattern. But we want to see the breakout with the lagging span back above price. So we'd be looking at the 206. What is it? 3206. And I don't know why Nano isn't more. Oh yeah. How do I do that? Oh, I know. You know what? I'll do that tomorrow. I won't fiddle with it right now while people are here. Okay, 3206. That's a break of the flagging pattern. Okay. Quantum or Qtum. Ooh. Well, the daily actually looks... lagging span is stuck here. If we did do a breakout trade, that'd be at 612. Where's 612 over here? I mean, that might be all right, but what do we got going on here? 612 is probably a good entry. We'd see price break above the baseline on the 4-hour, and we get a breakout on the hourly. 612. Yeah, that's a... I wouldn't hang on to that trade for very long, but could catch a couple percent out of that. Yeah, you know what? There's some better ones out there. I'll leave it alone. TRX or Waves. Damn it. Walton Chain. New. Nem. Nah. XLM. You know, we did have a nice opportunity to see if it would have broken above. All right, if we wait for the break, that'd be at 22.98. Ripple. Oh my God, this is just... Ripple's got the same... I mean, in 19 minutes... What was it specifically that I did? Zcash. Zcash is what looks way overdone, but ZRX. Ooh, ZRX is... It's nice. ZRX is one of the only cryptos that is outside of its it's above its daily cloud. There are very, very few that are, and they are either anomalies or they are the kind of the forerunners. But ZRX just on the daily, we're actually getting the first long confirmation for a major trend change based on the daily chart. That is if we close with the lagging span closing outside the cloud here, okay? If we get a close on ZRX where the lagging span is outside the cloud, that is the first, I think it's got to be, at least in the pairs that I look at, that is a crazy bullish sign right there. That's going to be a ZRX. I watch for it on the close. ZRX BTC long at 275 if daily lagging span is above closes above the cloud. Okay, that's what we want to see. All right. Real quick, looking at another market, the dollar index. Okay, the dollar index. If you're unfamiliar with it, I think this is another. Even though there's not a lot of correlation between the crypto markets and other markets, there's people argue that till they're blue in the face. However, we just have to be aware that the dollar is facing some inherent weakness here. Over the last couple of days, it's had a very strong parabolic rise. It's coming up to the 50%, the halfway point in this in the 192-day law vibration cycle. We're seeing this trade down pretty nicely here and could anticipate some bigger moves moving forward here in the future. So keep your eyes on the dollar index, and its weakness can yield into um, uh, 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 the dollar's strength. All right. Let's see, just showing you how to do it and what to look out for, and the signals help so much. Oh, well, that's good. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Folks, if we get into a situation tonight where we get this market moving, you know, you're going to see things where the odds of the market moving when we're not here talking are really high. So then the question is, you start to see your watch list. You start to see the majors like Bitcoin, Ethereum trading up a bunch of $1,000,000%. Nothing sucks more than missing a 25% rise. Okay, but what sucks even worse is if you try to chase it by joining at the top and then you lose 25% of that trade. I want to show you what to look for when and if that happens, because you can't trade 24 hours a day. You have to eventually end up and go to bed. Something we talked about on during some of the swings when we were at these lows, and the altcoins caught a bit of a bid at the market lows. So what you want to look for is, and I call them the laggards. All right, you want to look for, so if everything has been moving up, and you can screen for it too, but let's say I'm looking at, okay, I called IOTA a laggard compared to its peers, okay? Because it's been in a much larger downtrend and hasn't had a lot of, nice bullish price action compared to everyone else. So look at, like, its chart looks different than Nano. Not a whole lot, but we can see that Nano has had a lot more growth than IOTA. Or PPT is, well, it's probably not a laggard anymore. Walton Chain is really not a laggard. We're just looking for charts that have not experienced a big move when everything else has. So if you start to see, you should be looking for things if the top, if a whole bunch of coins at the top are trading up like 25%, look for the ones that have not moved at all or are only up 2 to 5%. That's what you want. You want to rotate the I mean, we're not, when we get into the market that's going to be expanding, we're going to be looking at the laggards and not worrying about which ones we're hodling. I mean, I have a separate wallet where I have things that I hold, and then I have exchanges where I like to short and go long in a market. And we got to rotate the capital out of winners and into more winners, and not just let it sit there the whole time. And so that's what we're going to be looking at as we're moving on. Let's take a quick look at the financial astronomic. Pundi X has barely moved out here. Yeah, I mean, you want to find something that that also has has some volume participation in it. Don't want to get a dead coin. Like if you look at Bitrix's pairs, they have a lot of coins that there's like nothing in it. So just getting a drink of water. All right, so this is Bitcoin's chart. For those who have never seen it, the wavy line that represents the longitudinal position of Jupiter. Before you jump out of the channel and think that's some crazy stuff, this is just science. This is not astrology. This is not about how you can use financial astrology to fall in love with that Libra who you think is really hot, and that is not how it works. The longitudinal coordinates of a planet relative to where the Earth is at, that is something you can find on NASA.com, and that's literally all this is. But for whatever reason, certain planetary lines are natural support levels in financial markets. I don't know why that is, but it just is. And if some people say, "Oh, that just seems unnatural," I don't. It's the most natural thing I can think of. The same with cycles, like the Venus retrograde cycle. We've gone over that before recently. I took shorts on the NASDAQ on October 2nd. And so you know I'm not talking out of my butt. I publish ideas on TradingView fairly frequently. And so, you know, people can follow them or not. But on the... Where are you at? Okay. Yep. September 14th, I had posted this. This is on the dollar index. And I wrote about the Venus retrograde cycle, October 5th to November 16th, that U.S. equity markets, if they're trading at or near all-time highs or intra-year highs, for whatever reason, the Venus retrograde cycle is a major selling period. I don't know why. I'm not saying that Venus has some type of mystical control over people or anything. I'm just saying that there's a high correlation between Venus retrograde cycle and the U.S. equity market falling. And this is an image of it right now. Okay, here's the current Venus retrograde cycle. Okay, I took the short on this because then I posted the idea on TradingView. 3 days before the retrograde cycle hit. Okay, and Venus retrograde falling. Here's the date it was published, October 2nd. And you can't even really see that very well, but you can see it in here. Okay, Venus, excuse me, Venus retrograde cycle. It's weird. I don't know the reasons why. I just know that this is a cycle, and stocks and people seem to follow it whether they know it or not. These are natural cycles, which I like to follow. Things like calendars, 24-hour day, the quarters in a year, all this jazz. Anything that is created by man as a reference of time and measurement of time or divisions of time, they can become very inaccurate. But things like this, like the Venus retrograde cycle, that's a naturally occurring cycle. Okay, you can't like change it or alter it. Man cannot do that. Or, you know, whenever there's a full moon or a new moon, that is something that is natural. Saying that you wouldn't consider selling stocks during a Venus retrograde cycle if the market's near a high, because you think that's weird, is kind of like saying, well, I'm not going to wear a winter coat during the winter in South Dakota because, are you suggesting that the planet Earth is at some relative place to the sun that causes it to be colder? Oh, that's superstitious garbage. No, that is not, that is not how you would wear a coat. Okay. Natural cycle, and humans respond to it so frequently, it's just bizarre. Now, bringing that back to Bitcoin's chart here. Again, this is the longitudinal coordinates of Jupiter. The green line is, and then the red lines are the divisions or the harmonics in between it. For whatever reason, there are strong support and resistance lines. The blue horizontal or vertical lines are 72 degrees of, actually this is at 36. I meant to do 72, which is really the same thing. But at every 72 degrees of Venus, you see Bitcoin finding and have like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in financial astronomy is Bitcoin's chart when you're looking at the 72 degrees of Venus. It's pretty freaking crazy. Yeah, check out my description because on TradingView, because you made a lot of bank this week. Called out the longs on the euro and the pound days before, and same with the dollar Swiss. I mean, the whole all of the forex markets are going to experience a reversal going into the end of the year. But oh shoot, ethereum move again. Bitcoin's chart. This is just a stupidly constricted zone here, and we're in close proximity to this harmonic of Jupiter, and we should expect to see a lot of activity coming up here. It's literally a waiting period. What you have to be aware of, and what we've been talking about, is that, and I mentioned this in the Crypto Insomniacs when I was a guest there on Monday, and people talk about the Bitcoin bear market and how long it's lasted, and I've been guilty of calling it that too, even though I know better. I just kind of like say it, but the bear market in Bitcoin officially, and here's the thing, you don't know when a bull or bear market starts, begins, or ends until you have to wait for to see it. But the Bitcoin bear market ended in February. Okay? Bear markets are not long. They are shorter than bull trends. They are fast, they are violent, they are rapid, and they resolve quickly. Okay? The evidence of a bear market is when you have continual lower lows. All right? Have we technically had lower lows than February? Sure. Yes. Okay, we had some in June. But overall, the structure here has not changed since February. That low area has not changed. So all we've done for 270 some days, which is an important Gann cycle, all we've done is consolidate. Okay? A bear market is, in stocks they consider it a percentage amount move, but really a bear market is indicative of lower lows forming, not lower highs. It is lower lows, whereas it seems the opposite, because when we talk about an uptrend, you want to see higher lows, and a downtrend, you want to see lower highs. But if we're doing a broad bias of a market, when you see the end of lower lows forming, but many attempts to try to create lower lows, you know you're at the end of a bear market. And that stopped in February. Actually, you could probably say that the second test of that zone in April. Depends. But Dow Theory 101, I know I'm repeating something for people here, but Dow Theory 101 is you have an expansion phase, public participation, you have distribution, then you have panic, and then you have consolidation. The distribution and the panic cycles are part of that bear market, okay? So if we go all the way back to 2017, we go actually into 2016, before 2017, we have a long accumulation and consolidation zone, followed by our first expansion phase. This is where professional money gets in. That's what they say. That's the definition. Professional money comes in down here. This was back in April of 2017 all the way to September. The end of the first expansion phase in September, that was the last part of the smart money. Dumb money came in mid-September and all the way to December, okay? This is called the public participation phase. Why is it called the public participation phase? Because the normal public, realizing that something they're not even aware of has gone up so much and has gone up for a month or a year, they want to get on it now too, okay? They're afraid of missing out. That's where you get that FOMO. And so they come in, but expert traders, veteran traders, whoever, they were selling probably around the 14,000 area and higher. The peaks, the levels preceding the peak and directly after, this is where the distribution happens. And then you get the panic phase. And that was resolved at the end, or in February. Then in Dow, the next phase is the consolidation phase. And that is the longest phase in any market. Now, this is a classic chicken or the egg scenario, is because expansion or consolidation phases always happen after a big move, and then they always happen preceding a big move. It's kind of like Bollinger Bands are a good example of that. It's the chicken or the egg. Regardless, the behaviors of a consolidating market, of when it's about to end, is you get the continued constriction of the extremes. So the highs and the lows, they're getting tighter and tighter and tighter. There are no longer any major swings. There are no longer any new highs or new lows being made. The market sentiment is still broadly negative. And fundamentally, tying fundamentals to price action in a consolidation and identifying the end of a bear market is when, yes, it is still, yep. I'm actually working on like drawing it out so it looks like you can see the peaks and the rises are still there. They're just not as, they don't match the same highs that they are now, which is fine. I mean, mirrored foldback patterns, they can deviate a lot. But it is still active for the year. But this tight consolidation range is like, I bet this chart will be in technical analysis books at some point, because it is a textbook Dow phase. It's crazy actually how it's just kind of followed that pattern. But again, we're not seeing any major swings, but ultimately one of the fundamental things you can notice about the end of a bear market is if overall sentiment is still really negative, but it fails to create lower lows. Okay, so the behavior side of that is there's not enough people that want to sell even though there's bad news, and there's not enough people who are interested in shorting it even though there's bad news. So you're left with no participation in the market, and you're left with the other side of the market, which is people who are still bullish in the market, who are willing to defend a particular level, which is exactly what we have going on here. And the best way to show that is with a volume profile. Okay, so this is all the way back to April of 2017. If you're unfamiliar with the volume profile, so the volume down below tells you how much volume was traded at a particular time on a chart. So this is the daily volume. Here on the volume profile, this is volume at price analysis. So we're looking at, on the right side of the screen, we're looking at how much volume was traded at a particular price. And so the red line that goes across the screen, that's the volume point of control. It's telling us that was the most volume traded. All right, so below we have two peaks. And then right here we have the highest amount of traded Bitcoin. Okay. Clear and evident consolidation. Now, could prices fall down? Sure. Yes. They could fall down, maybe down to the 4,200 area. But here's the thing. I bet if it happened and I was asleep, let's say I went to bed at 10 o'clock at night, I bet it could drop down to 4,200, and then I'd wake up and I wouldn't even notice that it was there, because it could probably be at 12K, because we would more than likely observe the same kind of price action that we saw on this day over here in December. we would see a flash crash followed by a massive buyback. This was a $5,000 drop that got bought up. We would see that happen. All right. And actually, I talked about this during the Crypto Insomniacs session, and I'm a little over my time here. But one of the things you really want to see is a bear trap prior to the next move. So here's our Bollinger Bands. Okay, this is the kind of thing we want to see. See this initial drop down here followed by responsive buying? This has all the evidence of a test to me. It really does. Like market makers seeing if this will play out in the future, and clearly it did. But we want to see where we're constricted again. And this very well could have been that move. We're just, this very well could have been what I'm talking about. But we want to see the constriction happen, a failed move lower, and then that rise. And so it's been saying this for the last few months. It's literally a hurry up and wait. And that is the kind of market we're in. But I tell you what, I'm not giving out financial advice, but I don't use stops in this market. Using stops in cryptocurrencies is like driving on the interstate without your seatbelt on blindfolded. I mean, you may be okay, you may not get hit, but the odds are you're going to get hit. So stops in this market, and you have to trade. This is a hard market to trade because there are so many random massive spikes. There's so many whipsaws in this market. So having stops is just almost not stops are a hindrance to trading cryptocurrencies. But we really haven't been in a tradable cryptocurrency market for 270 days. Unless you're swing trading on the daily. But even then, you probably haven't had a lot of fun for the last 4 months. So, again, this is just a hurry up and wait. And, yeah, I don't know. Anybody have any questions? If there's not any more questions, that's great. Tomorrow, for Forex Lens, folks, we'll be here again at 7:30 Central Standard Time per normal. And for the rest of you, I will be here again tomorrow at the same time, 1 o'clock Central Standard Time here in the afternoon. And it's I've said this before, but it's very, very possible that we could be looking at a much higher market by the time we talk tomorrow. Just be ready for it. Oh yeah. And when it does spike, don't be so quick to put your money in stuff right away. Okay? Because there will be random flash pullback opportunities, and those are the ones you should be looking at. But I tell you what, if you want to participate in this market and you're waiting for a breakout, you're waiting too late. This is the people who are like, I'm gonna wait for the next bull market, this is a bad idea. Pros, experts, veterans, people who know what the hell they're doing, they have been buying the bottom of this market for months. All right? They have been buying the bottom of this market for months. You want to make money in this crypto market? You want to make money on the 10 times increased valuations and moves in prices? You get in at the lowest opportunity that you can and at the best time, and this is right now. Don't be the people who bought Bitcoin last year at $13,000 and held on to it when it got to 20 and then sold it only when it got down to 6. Or don't be the person who bought it at 20. Okay? Oh, Tim. Oh, I know. Last year, I was telling people about this last year, like in early 20. Oh, I know it was January of 2017. I was at my wife's work party and they were talking about Bitcoin, and I said I'd buy it now. I said, don't wait. Buy it now. Why would you? Why? It's just irritating. So, oh, I might put money into it when it goes higher. Why would you buy it higher? It's like saying you're gonna wait for something to go. You're gonna wait for that pickup to go off sale so you can go buy it at full price. That's just dumb. Anyways, about 10 minutes over. Sorry about that. You guys have a good rest of your trade week. If I don't talk to you tomorrow, otherwise I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great one. Bye-bye.